Well, depending on your age, you may have had trouble booking an eye exam in the last 3 weeks. Job action by the Optometrists Association of Ontario means doctors have stopped providing the service to people covered by OHIP. The association says compensation from the province falls short of what the exams cost, with doctors paying the balance out of pocket. The government says it has put forward a fair and reasonable proposal, including a one-time payment of $39 million and an OHIP increase of 8%. So what now? Joining us on CP24 tonight, Dr. Sheldon Salaba, the president of the Optometrists Association of Ontario. Thank you for being here, doctor. And Peter Forent, a concerned consumer. Thank you both for being here. Peter, I'm going to start with you. You expressed your frustrations on Twitter saying, look, I brought my child to get an eye exam. The doctor said couldn't provide that eye exam, which was OHIP covered. You offered to pay out of pocket. The doctor said no. And you expressed your frustration. What happened from there?
Well, absolutely. So I actually got a response as well from someone from the OAO, and it was explained to me that the reason why the optometrist was unable to accept my direct payment is the legislation in Ontario says if it's an OHIP covered service and they accept any payment at all, they risk losing their licenses. And that's very frustrating for us as consumers, as the patients, because we're caught between a rock and a hard place. There doesn't seem to be any room for negotiation there between the government and the optometrists and, the patients. We're stuck in the middle. And where do we go from here? And your child is then, Peter, under 20 years of age, because the OHIP covered procedures are for those under 20, over the age of 65. We have spoken to one woman who called 50 optometrists to no avail, and her child has been partaking in online learning and having eye issues in terms of, and concerns and strain looking at the screen. So what does your child do now? What do you do as a parent? Well, I say you're totally frustrated. So the answer came back that we have to go to an ophthalmologist, which is an eye surgeon, not someone who can provide glasses and accessories that way. And of course, try getting an appointment there. You have to go through your GP to get a referral first. So there's another waste. I don't know how the government thinks they're saving money by doing that, because you have to pay the GP to then research it to see if it's worthwhile to send the patient off to an ophthalmologist. And they're even more expensive. So if the government thinks they're saving money by doing this, they're fooling no one but themselves. Okay, thank you for that. Dr. Salaba, thank you so much for joining us tonight as president of the Optometrists Association of Ontario. So you heard Peter's concerns. It sounds like Peter recognizes the challenges of your organization. And may I point out, according to your association, Ontario is the lowest publicly funded eye care province in all of Canada on average. The province provides you $44 per examination covered under OHIP. In other provinces, it's closer to $75 plus. But my question for you is this the right job action to take when kids and seniors need you?
We don't want to see services being withheld from patients, especially essential healthcare services that is their right and they deserve. But we tried everything to work with this government and subsequent governments over the last 32 years to act in a reasonable way to ensure that these services are funded appropriately, and we continue to have the door shut on our face. And I think it's really sad that it has to come to this, where in order to get a reaction from the government where they actually start to engage and take these essential services seriously, that services have to be withdrawn from patients.
I want to share a statement we received from the Ministry of Health tonight. They said, we are disappointed that the OAO recently declined the third-party mediator's conditions that would allow us to resume mediation and reach a deal that supports high-quality vision care for Ontarians. The Ministry of Health agreed to the conditions of the third-party mediator to continue discussions, and we urge the OAO to do the same. I recognize your concerns, Doctor. What's the next step for your association? Do you return to the bargaining table at some point? Is this at a stalemate? And what are consumers like Peter and his family to do?
We really need the government to commit to one of two principles. Either they're going to pay the operating costs for us to provide these services, and that's still going to see the optometrists providing them without any compensation to themselves. So we're talking about what it costs us for rent, utilities, equipment rental, and paying our staff. That comes in around $80, and they're on average paying $45. So we need them to make a commitment to either pay that or ensure that these services are no longer the lowest reimbursed in the entire country. either commitment from them gets us back to the table and we can actually start going through the work to figure out how these services are funded.
I'm going to get back to Peter in just a moment, but Doctor, I know, of course, the idea of private healthcare versus public is an ongoing dispute for many, but Peter was willing to pay the cost. Of course, he was advised by your association he could not pay out of pocket for what is an OHIP-funded surgery. That would mean the optometrists could lose their license. Is that the future of optometry? I mean, should it be, for all age groups, you pay and maybe, for example, like those between 20 to 65, you use your benefits program through your workplace if you're lucky enough. Would that solve some of this?
That's a decision that the government in Ontario has to make. The services that we are providing, we are the easy access point, we are the lowest cost provider, and however they choose to fund those services is a decision that they have to decide upon for themselves. There are lots of different models across Canada, but we are completely happy to continue to have services publicly funded, but we have to have a system where the provider isn't paying a substantial amount of the cost to provide those services.
Okay, I'm going to bring in Peter here. Looks like we have, maybe you're getting a call on at this moment. Okay, Peter, you recognize, it's okay, it happens on live TV. So you recognize what Dr. Celiba is saying here, and there are millions of others in the same place as you. What do you do next here? And even for your child, I mean, when you have eye strain, eye challenges, not only is it uncomfortable, it's a physical issue, it's a mental health issue. What do you do? How would you like to see this resolved?
Well, no, I think the government's got to get back to the table. Peter Bethenfalvey, he's our finance minister, and I happen to live in his riding. He's a smart guy. He knows the numbers. And I don't know what they're trying to get at because, business owners, the Ford government says that they support business owners and entrepreneurs. Who is more entrepreneurial than a healthcare professional that provides services? If they don't do services, they don't get to bill, they don't get to eat. So this is a major problem. So I think if the Ford government really wants to support healthcare, really wants to support business owners, really wants to support the self-employed in this province, they have to step up to the table and they have to pay the true cost of providing that service or get out of the way and say, sorry, OHIP's not going to do this anymore. And let us get together and get those services from optometrists that we need at a reasonable price.
Dr. Celiba, how much of what you're hearing is support from people like Peter, who were at least, initially frustrated but understand, versus people saying, come on, just figure this out?
I appreciate that he's understanding on this issue, and I feel bad, and I apologize that patients are stuck in the middle of this. We don't want that to be happening. We're doctors, we're care providers. We want to be able to take care of people. And we really, I hope the government listens to what he's saying and comes back to the table and starts dealing with this appropriately and reasonably. We're 23 days where OHIP patients in this province haven't had access to eye care services. And we really need the Ford government to commit to funding those costs and come back to the table and let's get this fixed so we can start seeing people again.
And to wrap things up, I want to share a spokesperson for the Ministry of Health said that if an individual, there we go, sorry about that, an individual optometrist decides to withhold care from a patient, they are expected to take steps to ensure patients can continue to receive appropriate care, such as referrals, which in Peter's case, as he noted, means an OHIP covered visit to his GP, his general practitioner doctor, and then an OHIP covered visit to a specialist, which sounds like it defeats the purpose of what you're trying to get at here, doctor, is, if you had more funding, we can eliminate all this and this headache. I want to thank you both and wish you both all the best. Doctor, thank you for your time. Peter, thank you as a consumer for speaking out. It's consumers like you who speak out and reach out and post things online that help us to understand the frustrations of Ontarians and those in our community. Thank you both so much.
And thank you for covering this story.